So hello guys, and welcome to another discussion video, and as of the upload date of this video, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake should be out now, and I kind of wanted to discuss what this means for the future of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series and Nintendo software technology, since this remake is actually surprisingly important and is pretty interesting overall, since the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series is one of the most interesting Mario series in terms of like development history and how much it changed over the years. So yeah, basically, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series started out as a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong on the Game Boy, which in itself was a spiritual successor to arcade Donkey Kong, while adding like some puzzle platforming elements. And it's just really fun overall. Like, Mario has pretty interesting moveset, like he can do a handstand, backflip, different things like that. It just feels great, and there's like different puzzles involved, and it's just a really nice formula overall. But after the first Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, they kind of completely changed the direction to something very different. After the first game, it's more of like a Lemmings style type of gameplay where you don't control the characters, but you have to kind of change aspects of the stages in order for the characters to get to the end of the screen. Like with the mini Marios, you kind of have to move like different platforms around and things, and they use that formula, that exact same formula with very little changes over multiple different games between the DS, 3DS, and Wii U. Like, by tipping stars in Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge, it was getting really old, and the games kind of felt like a low effort and low budget, which kind of gave this series a pretty bad reputation. Like, in the Wii U era, like, and even like up until like a couple of years ago, whenever you mentioned Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that's what people thought of. They thought of those games that were pretty low effort, could basically be converted into like a web browser game in the case of Tipping Stars, since that's like, that has something to do with like HTML with that game's design and everything. So like all of these games just felt like basically like just filler releases for a lot of people, just something that they would just drop on the eShop, which is why a lot of people were surprised that this remake was a standalone release for $50 and was kind of being hyped up as like a semi-interesting release, or like kind of like a something that Nintendo would kind of use to like fill out their regular release schedule with. Like, not really an eShop drop, but more of like a larger title. So yeah, a lot of people were confused by that and kind of wrote this game off as being like another filler release, which kind of goes to show like how much the series' reputation kind of went downhill between the second game up until like the Wii U era. But I feel like this remake is pretty important, and I feel like it's probably going to change a lot of people's reputation of this series, which I think is really important. Like, rather than the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series being like a low-budget filler release, a lot of people might now see it as a very unique puzzle platformer starring Mario, kind of building upon the arcade Donkey Kong formula, which in itself is kind of building off of the, with this game, kind of building off of the DK94 formula. I think more people will kind of view it as a kind of like a unique Mario spin-off, like alongside like Mario Party, Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, different things like that. I feel like this remake might be kind of helpful to kind of like gaining back that reputation. So I think that's why I'm so excited about this remake, because it's definitely gonna kind of bring more people into this formula with the DK94 formula and introduce more people to it. So I feel like that opens up a lot of possibilities for future releases and things, since there's a lot of untapped potential when it comes to the DK94 formula and the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong formula, because they basically didn't expand upon that formula at all with the releases after the first game. I mean, yeah, they did some things, like they added like a stage builder and like different things like that, and a stage builder would have been amazing in this remake, but it is a little unfortunate that it isn't here. But I'll get into my idea with some stage builder related idea in a little bit, but basically, I feel like they can really go anywhere with the DK94 formula. There's like a lot that they can do. I mean, I can't even really think of many ideas in terms of like something that can specifically adapt the gameplay of Mario vs. Donkey Kong and DK94. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo Software Technology could think of some interesting idea to kind of mix up the formula while keeping the core formula intact. And not doing like the minis Lemming style thing again. But I feel like there are some interesting like premise ideas that they could do with like Mario vs. Donkey Kong, because they really were like, the stories of this series are like as bare bones as you can get for the Mario franchise, which, I mean, I guess that's saying a lot, since in the mainline Mario games, there really isn't much of a story outside of like Mario Galaxy and different things like that. But basically every Mario vs. Donkey Kong is like, Donkey Kong steals something, you have to use the minis to get the thing back. That's like the extent of like all of these games. So the original game, like, funnily enough, has the most interesting story out of all of these. Which I guess kind of makes sense, since you're actually playing as Mario, and you actually get to go through like all of these unique worlds and everything, and there's a lot more potential, kind of building off of DK94. But I'd like to see some interesting ideas, like, rather than just Donkey Kong stealing something again, I think it would be cool if they did something like where Mario and Donkey Kong actually teamed up. Like, let's say they kind of, like, team up against another villain, like King K. Rool, kind of tying it into Donkey Kong even more, or Foreman Spike, kind of tying it into, like, the arcade Mario ties. They could do something like that. I think that would be really cool. So there's just a lot of potential. Like, they could even do something with Pauline again. They could incorporate New Donk City. I think that would be really cool if they kind of did, like, a more unique premise, and I feel like that could give them a lot of ideas for like gameplay and things. So I'm looking forward to seeing like what they will do with that, because I really hope they continue to build off of this formula. Like, honestly, with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I feel like this is almost like a soft reboot of the series with this remake. Like, this is really a chance for Nintendo Software Technology to kind of reset this series and actually kind of bring in this like formula again and kind of like brand the DK94 formula under Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And if they ever do want to bring back like the mini Mario formula, I feel like they could easily kind of have that into its own spin-off series. Like, with how Mini Mario and Friends did, they could just call it the Mini Mario and Friends series, kind of building off of, like, Amiibo Challenge and everything, completely separated from Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Well, everything aside from the fact that the Mini Marios are there, and maybe some of the aesthetic choices and things. So, I guess it would technically be a spin-off of Mario vs. Donkey Kong if they do that. Well, the main Mario vs. Donkey Kong games will kind of basically build off of the DK94 formula. But I had another idea, like, that has to do with the stage builder, since there isn't a stage builder or level editor in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake, which is a little disappointing, since this is like the one Mario vs. Donkey Kong game that I would have wanted a stage builder for, because you actually control the characters. But honestly, I think they could do some kind of Donkey Kong Maker at this point, where you could either do like the original arcade Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., DK94, the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and then also the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake for a more HD style. I think that would be really cool to kind of tie it all together and kind of basically they could even like maybe on top of it, they could put in like a little extra mini Mario mode in the game, but I think like a whole Donkey Kong Maker game would be really, or Mario versus Donkey Kong Maker. I mean, they could do something completely different for like Donkey Kong Maker. They could do a Donkey Kong Country Maker. That would be amazing. But like a Mario versus Donkey Kong Maker that has the arcade games, the original arcade games, the Mario versus Donkey Kong games, and DK94. I think that would be a really cool idea sometime in the future if Nintendo Software Technology is thinking of another way to kind of expand upon this formula. And the level editor will definitely expand upon it in some ways. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts on the future of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. Like, I think things are definitely looking bright now that they were willing to bring back that older formula. Because I feel like this was definitely a soft reboot. Like, the way this game released as, like, a semi-full release at $50, the fact that all of the assets are in 3D and HD, which really wasn't the case for the rest of the series. So I feel like they're really kind of rebooting this series with this remake. So I'm really hopeful for what they'll do, and I feel like this was definitely the best choice for what they could have done with this series, because I feel like it gives Nintendo Software Technology a chance to kind of basically work with this formula again and kind of make like a fresh version of it with this remake. So yeah, I think we'll definitely see more DK94 style games in the future now, especially if this sells well. And I have a feeling it probably will, because Nintendo has been like advertising this quite a lot. I'm surprised how much they've been advertising this game. Like, this seems like a game that Nintendo really wouldn't advertise that much, but I guess with like Mario and Donkey Kong's rivalry in the movie, I guess that kind of helped that. But I am definitely like thankful that they are like advertising this a lot, because I mean, like, there's definitely a good chance that they'll like see the potential in this formula moving forward. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.